You and I, we're not so different. Agent Argylle.
Little help? Hold on.
The book is phenomenal, sweetie, but what happens next?
It's called a cliffhanger, Mother.
Ellie, it's called a cop-out.
This week on Talking About the Movies, Bryce Dallas Howard is a spy novelist who finds out that the world she created actually turns out to be something that is inspired by real life. Haven't heard that one before. We talk about Matthew Vaughn's latest film, Argylle, which is quite a trip once you really look at it all the way through. So we will take a look at that, plus...
Ta-da!
What are you?
Isn't that obvious? The room's dark. It's dark out. Hello, I'm dark. Of all the kids who are terrified, you are by far the loudest, the most obnoxious, and frankly, you're on a whole different level.
You're keeping a list?
Yes, I'm keeping a list. You know how many kids are afraid of me? You come watch me do my job for one night, and you'll finally see that I'm nothing to be afraid of. Are you in or are you in?
I'm...
A young boy is given the opportunity to face his fears as he goes on a magical adventure with The Dark in Orion in the Dark, the latest DreamWorks animated movie, which you can watch in the comfort of your very own home. We'll talk about that and also Argylle, a double feature this week on Talking About the Movies. Welcome to Talking About the Movies, and you might be wondering, why is the lamp on in the background? This is actually being recorded on a late Saturday night, early Sunday morning at around 1 a.m., on February 4th, and I'm doing this because my sister's having her birthday tomorrow. We're going to be doing some stuff throughout the course of the day, so I'm not going to have time to usually do my regular videos around the time I usually put these out, so I'm recording this on Saturday night. It's still going to be posted on Sunday afternoon around 12, 1 o'clock, depending on which time I actually put it up for, but so that's why it's the lamp is on. It's nighttime here, So yeah, as always on the show, we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend. And this weekend, we have two new releases. One that you could go to a theater and go see, or you can see this other one from the comfort of your very own home. And if we're being honest, right off the bat, I will say this. You'd probably be better off watching the one at home than the one I'm about to talk about right here. So let's go ahead and talk about the movie that is Argylle. So in the movie Argylle, you have Bryce Dallas Howard as Ellie Conway, who's an introverted spy novelist who seldom leaves her home, and she's drawn into the real world of espionage when the plots of her books get a little too close to the activities of a sinister underground syndicate. When Aiden, played by Sam Rockwell, a spy, shows up to save her, he says, from being kidnapped or killed, or both. Ellie and her beloved cat Alfie are plunged into a covert world where nothing and no one is what it seems. So the basic plot of this movie is quite honestly this. Basically, Bryce Dallas Howard's character turns out to be a world-class spy suffering from amnesia. I'm not only saying this because I saw the movie, but I was already spoiled by this, as was many people. You know why? Because when they literally announced this movie back in July of 2021, that was literally the plot of the movie they put on online. I'm not even joking. In fact, I've actually got the tweet right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, shall we? Yeah, it says, Matthew Vaughn is set to direct a thriller about a best-selling female novelist who turns out to be a world-class spy suffering from amnesia. So yeah. The biggest thing about this movie is already spoiled. But no. Not this movie in particular. No. If that was the only thing, then this movie would not be as bad as it is. Because, let me tell you something, people. This is bad. This is really, really bad. Like, this movie is unbelievable at how lazy it is and just how many things they throw at you. Like, how do I put this? You know, I think honestly Steve Martin in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles said it best.
Here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Truer words were never spoken because, man, this movie is unbelievable at how bad it really is. Like, this is Matthew Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn, of course, gave us such great movies as Layer Cake and Kick-Ass and the first Kingsman movie. The sequels were not that great in particular. But Stardust was a great underrated gem of his. He's a really good director. He's made a lot of good movies. Jason Fuchs, or Jason Fuchs, if you want to say, but it's literally Fuchs. I mean, I'm going on the James Rolfe AVGN thing, where he's just like Fred Fox. Like, it's literally Jason Fuchs. This guy wrote Wonder Woman, but he also wrote Pan, and also Ice Age, Continental Drift. You know, I'm starting to realize that maybe we should have been warned about this from the get-go, because, man, that's a bad sign right there. But hey, it's got, in addition to Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell, you've got Henry Cavill, you got Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, Sophia Boutella, Dua Lipa, Ariana DeBose, John Cena, Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Grant, Rob Delaney. So a good cast in general, but yeah, this is a mess of a movie. Like, it's just an unbelievable mess of a movie. First of all, first thing wrong with this movie right from the get-go, it's rated PG-13. Matthew Vaughn's best movies were rated R, hard R's, Kick-Ass, The Kingsman, Layer Cake, the first Kingsman, not The Kingsman, which was better than The Golden Circle, but still, but I'm talking about the first Kingsman when I'm talking about this, but Kingsman, The Secret Service, Kick-Ass, Layer Cake, those are his best movies. Those are the movies that define who Matthew Vaughn is. So the fact that he's making a PG-13 spy movie that's supposed to be in the same vein as Kingsman, in fact, to the point where I'll get to that in just a moment, because want to talk about spoilers and twists, we're going to delve into the hell that this movie brings us in just a few moments. But yeah, this is a great director. This is a guy that knows how to entertain people. So what the hell happened with this movie? Like, well, let's go to the second thing that's wrong with this movie. Nothing about this movie makes any sense. I mean, this is a film that the concept isn't even that original when you really think about it. This is a story that's been done to death so many times. The most notable ones I can think of, Nim's Island literally did the same plot here, where Jodie Foster is an introverted author whose stories actually come to life, and she actually has to go and help this kid played by Abigail Breslin, along with the help of her creation played by Gerard Butler. I mean, Stranger Than Fiction, one of the best underrated movies of the 21st century, did this similar storyline where Emma Thompson is a writer and Will Ferrell is a character in her world, and from this book that actually is a real person. This is stuff we've seen done before over and over again. I guess the creative element to this movie is that, hey, it involves spies, it involves an action adventure. So I guess maybe that's something that could work to the film's favor, but it doesn't here. Third, the characters are so annoying. The characters are so poorly written. They're stock characters. There's nothing about them that makes them unique or special in any way, shape, or form. They're bland characters. I mean, this is a movie where everybody is so much better than what they're given here to do. They're just there to be stock characters. Like Ariana DeBose, seriously, you gotta fire your agent, man, because you should not be making this many bad movies after West Side Story. I mean, like this, ISS, Craven the Hunter. I mean, come on. Like, you're an Academy Award-winning actress, and you're much better than this. Catherine O'Hara is much better than this. Samuel L. Jackson is much better than this. Bryan Cranston, John Cena is better than this. Everybody in this movie is better than this. Fourth, it's trying to start a franchise, and, like, you can't start a franchise unless you know this is going to work. Like, The Kingsman worked because they had no idea if it was going to start a franchise or not, and because the first film turned out to be the success that it was able to build into a franchise of its own. This one's trying to get it going right out of the gate, introducing all these characters that you're supposed to get behind, you're supposed to be invested in, and you can't get invested in them when they keep doing these ridiculous things, and they're not very interesting characters from the get-go. 5, $200 million. Why is this $200 million? Where did the money go for this movie? Like, I don't understand why this cost $200 million. This is actually the third film from Apple Original Films, which also did Kills of the Flower Moon and Napoleon, that had a $200 million budget. where did the money go for those movies? Like, Kills of the Flower Moon is a great movie, but there's nothing about that movie that cost $200 million. Napoleon did not have anything in there that cost $200 million. This thing right here has nothing that in it that's worthy of a $200 million budget. Where is the money going for this? Like, I understand that Apple is the big tech company and everybody uses their stuff. I use their stuff, but still, man, like, where did you put $200 million to this movie? Like, where is that money on the screen? Because it's certainly not in here. And you could do this with a lesser budget of under $100 million. I mean, hell, the director of this did it with a lesser budget of $100 million and made it more fun. And then the sixth thing that really hurts the movie, and this really does hurt the movie, the twist. I mean, I gave you one of the big ones at the beginning because they literally spelled it out for you when they announced this movie. But no. We can't just leave you on one twist. We've got to have multiple twists throughout the course of this movie. I swear, there's a twist in this movie is almost 15 minutes every single time. This movie is almost 2 hours long. Over 2+ hours long. It's just like, nothing about this movie needs to have this many twists. Even M. Night Shyamalan will be telling you, slow the fuck down already. Come on. Like M. Night Shyamalan's looking at this and saying, I do twists for a living, but at least I'm smart enough to do one big twist at the end. This movie does one every 15 minutes, and it gets annoying every single time. Like, it's like they're throwing stuff at the wall. Just like, anything sticking? No, just keep throwing stuff at the wall. We'll eventually get something eventually. And it's a mess, man. This is one of the sloppiest, most horribly written movies I have ever seen. I'm amazed at how bad this really is, because the potential clearly is there. There's a great cast involved. There's some good ideas involved. A great director. I just don't know what went wrong. I think what went wrong from the get-go was that they tried to build the hype for this up to be the next big thing. I mean, when this movie came out, everyone thought that this was connected to Taylor Swift because, they thought that Ellie Conroy was her pen name based on several references associating her with this character. And Matthew Vaughn had to deny the theory and stating that she had nothing to do with the movie. And, Bryce Dallas Howard even had to say that she was unconspicuously inspired by Swift. It's like the whole thing, the fact that you have to relate to something that's currently popular right now with Taylor Swift. It's just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, really? Like, all of you are smarter than this. Like, just give us a good movie. Just give us a good film. Don't try to start something before you know if it's going to be successful or not. That's the biggest problem with blockbusters nowadays. Why don't we have any big, notable blockbusters that is Toy Boat? I'm getting so mad I can't concentrate. But what am I trying to say here? Why do you think we don't get as many big blockbuster franchises that become what they are now? Like Home Alone became a franchise out of nowhere. Jurassic Park. We just had Barbie the last year. You know why we didn't? You know why we can't have those anymore? Because everyone wants to make sure we get a new franchise before we even decide if the movie's going to be popular enough to warrant that. That's exactly what happened with this movie. They thought they had a lockdown idea for a franchise. They thought they were going to have money in the bank, and they really blew it. They really blew it on every single level. This is a movie that's just so bad on so many levels. But the biggest FU to this movie is that this movie, I'm going to spoil the end credits for you. I mean, if you don't want this spoiled for you, I don't know why you would, but so basically, here's what happens in the end of the movie. There's a flashback sequence revealing that a young Argylle, the agent in this, actually collaborates with the Kingsman agency, and that Argylle the First Burke is coming soon. You have the nerve to say that this movie is connected to the Kingsman series, because when Kingsman isn't even this studio's property. This is Disney and Fox. I mean, this is about as bad as Morbius and Venom trying to connect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Spider-Man. And it's just like, why? just do something on your own. Like, why do you have to connect it to something that's already popular and something that's pretty much already overstayed its welcome? I mean, the Kingsman series kind of overstayed its welcome after the second movie didn't do so well. People got tired of the Kingsman after the prequel came out. Like, even though the prequel was better, in my opinion, I'd still say that, yeah, people were getting sick and tired of watching the same thing over and over again. Just give us something new and different. And this movie cannot do that. This movie wants to rely so much on trying to start a new franchise, trying to throw as many twists and curveballs at you as it can, wasting a really good cast, wasting a lot of good potential with the action sequences, blowing its budget and wad on so much garbage. This is a terrible movie. This is easily up there. This may very well be the worst movie of 2024. And it's hard to believe that I already have 4 movies that I could consider as the worst movies of 2024. We're not even 5 weeks into the year. That's really impressive when you think about it, because, you know, we had Night Swim, which was just a bad movie from the get-go. Mean Girls, pointless remake, absolutely unnecessary on so many levels. Lift, the Kevin Hart movie, which is a terrible movie in its own merits because it's Kevin Hart trying to be in an action comedy when he's really just lost in what he's trying to accomplish there. And now we have this movie. But this one really, I think, is the biggest misfire of them all. This is a movie that had so much riding on it. Everybody was trying to make this the next big thing, the next big franchise, the next big blockbuster for Universal and for Apple to create their own series of films. But this only proves that Apple Films, sometimes you get a genuine winner here and there. Sometimes you get a Killers of the Flower Moon. Maybe you get a little surprise like Ghost it was. Not Ghosted, a Spirit it was a couple years ago with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. Most of Apple's movies have been absolutely horrible. They've been basically knockoffs of movies that, not even far superior movies, but movies that did their concepts better. Like the Family Plan with Mark Wahlberg was it was basically just Undercover Blues, except much stupider than the original Undercover Blues was. I mean, that's really what Apple has basically become at this point. Half the movies they put out are not even great movies. They're just terrible, poorly written movies on so many levels. They're not even just poorly written. They're just not good films in general. And this is probably their biggest embarrassment so far. With everything that they had going for it, with a top director, a strong cast, you needed to give us much more than this. This is easily the worst movie of 2024 so far. And coincidentally, 80 for Brady came out the same weekend 1 year ago, and that ended up making pretty high up my top 10 worst movies list of the year. So 2024, you now have your low point to topple. Like, any movie that tries to top Argylle in 2024 is the worst movie of the year. You'd be doing something very interesting and very intriguing. Like, I want to say, I don't know how it could get worse, but we're only 5 weeks into the year, and we already got 4 movies that are guaranteed to make my list. So that's not a good sign going forward. So I guess you can figure out by now, I really did not like Argylle, so thumbs way down. I hate this movie so much. So, yeah, I wanted to get that one out of the way, but let's go ahead and end the show on a positive note, because let's talk about that movie that I said you can just watch in the comfort of your own home, and that is Orion and the Dark. So, Orion and the Dark is based off of a children's book of the same name, and you have the story of a young boy named Orion, who's played once again by Jacob Tremblay, who's been actually doing a lot of these animated movies that have made him notable. Like, he was in Luca a couple years ago, which the more I watch that movie, the more I've grown to really appreciate it. He's been a really good actor over the last couple of years. Wonder, Good Boys, he was great in Dr. Sleep. Even though his design was not that great in the Little Mermaid remake for Flounder, I thought he did a decent job of that. It wasn't his fault that the character looked terrible. But, so basically, he plays Orion. He seems like your average elementary school kid. Shy, unassuming, harboring a secret crush, but underneath his seemingly normal exterior, Orion is a ball of adolescent anxiety, completely confused by irrational fears of bees, dogs, the ocean, cell phone waves, murderous gutter clowns, and even falling off of a cliff, just like everybody did back then. But of all of his fears, the thing he is the most afraid of is what he confronts on a nightly basis, and that is, of course, the dark. So when the literal embodiment of his worst fears pays him a visit, the Dark, played by Paul Walter Hauser, He whisks Orion away on a roller coaster ride around the world to prove that there is nothing to be afraid of in the night. As the unlikely pair grows closer, Orion must decide if he can learn to accept the unknown, to stop letting fear control his life, and finally embrace the joy of living. Now, the first problem with this... Now, there's only one real problem with this movie, and it's something that you'll notice right from the get-go. Why the hell is this movie out on Netflix? I mean, DreamWorks Animation has had kind of a rocky last couple of years. I mean, 2022, they had a really great year that included Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, and The Bad Guys. Movies that I thought were going to lead to DreamWorks having a second renaissance, like how Disney did back in the late 80s, early 90s. But then they followed that up. They followed Puss in Boots up with Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, which was a good movie, and one that I feel like was completely overlooked, and I feel like was completely overshadowed by even the studio themselves. It's like DreamWorks made that movie and then said, we're not even going to bother to promote it. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to promote this movie. And are you trying to make money, or are you not trying to make money? Like, the film crashed and burned at the box office because nobody wanted to go see it. You didn't promote it. There was hardly any previews for it on TV. It's just... It made no sense why they did nothing to do with it. And then Trolls Band Together came out. That became a hit because they actually put the money into it. And you wonder why nobody gives DreamWorks the proper respect they deserve. Because kind of like with Disney and Pixar, nobody's going to see their original movies anymore because it feels like they're not even doing they're not doing the best to promote those movies. And in this case here, I guess it's like, why is this on Netflix? Really? Like, so many other movies that this studio's made over the last couple of years could have easily gone to Netflix and wouldn't have caused anybody to really give a crap about them whatsoever. Like, did I need to see Spirit Untamed on the big screen? No. Did I need to see The Boss Baby 2 on the big screen? No. Like, this is just, like, this right here, there's no excuse for this movie to be forced to just sit there on Netflix and completely devoid people of actually seeing a movie that has so much potential to be great on the big screen. I mean, the animation in this movie is absolutely amazing. This is Mikros Animation, who did the work on Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, which was another criminally underrated DreamWorks movie that got shafted because what weekend did DreamWorks decide to put it out on? The same weekend as the first Wonder Woman movie. They could have given it to the Easter weekend, but no. Alec Baldwin and The Boss Baby, that's the ticket right there. That's the one that they decided to put out there in that weekend. It's just like, do you even care anymore, DreamWorks? Like, honestly, that's one of those things where it's just like, do you even care? And this really is one of those movies that really makes me go like, why did you not put this out on a big screen? Because this is something that really is something that I feel like deserves to be seen on a big screen. Like I said, the casting of Jacob Tremblay as Orion is very good. He's a great young actor. Paul Walter Hauser, I've liked him in some movies, some other ones not so much. I feel like this is really going to this really does show his potential as a ranging actor. I feel like he can get hope he gets a lot more roles after this particular movie, but you have Angela Bassett, Ike Barinholtz, Nate Faxon, Aparna Nancherla from The Great North, Carla Gugino, Werner Herzog is the narrator. The animation in this movie is absolutely incredible, just on a technical level, on a visual level. This is such unique animation. It's just so well done, and it's just really impressive stuff here. This is something that really should have been seen on a big screen. The script is written by Charlie Kaufman. Charlie Kaufman, of course, for those of you who don't know, he wrote a lot of great movies, including Being John Malkovich. He wrote Adaptation, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This is actually the first movie he's written solo since Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But he written and directed a criminally underrated stop-motion movie in 2015 called Anomalisa, which is something that I have to recommend you people check out. It's definitely more than worth it. It's an adult animated film, but not in a way like a Sausage Party. It's a movie that actually is a live action film told in stop motion animation, and it's so well done. I can't recommend that one enough. If you have not seen Anomalisa, seek that movie out because it is more than worth it. Just like this movie is more than worth it. And it's a very well-made story. You do like the character of the Dark. You do like Orion a lot, and you want him to overcome his fears of the Dark. And we all had that fear of the Dark. We still get that fear of the Dark every once in a while. But here's a situation where this kid's gonna have a chance to see that there's nothing to be afraid of in the nighttime, and it's a well-made storyline. It's a simplistic story. It doesn't have to do anything unique or in terms of story to really get you going because it has great animation and a great set of characters for you to get behind. And it's just an impressive film on so many levels, from the visual level, a technical level, animation-wise, character-wise. Story-wise, like I said, it's nothing unique or anything too spectacular, but it does it in a way that I think is very refreshing and very well done. This is something that, like I said, really should have been put out on a big screen. I feel like this has to be seen in theaters. I don't know if there's going to be specific areas where they play this, but I hope DreamWorks eventually decides to put this out on theaters at some point down the road, like they're doing now over at Disney and Pixar with like Soul, Turning Red, and Luca, because this movie really does need to be seen on the big screen to really appreciate it. On a TV screen, yeah, it looks great and all, but you need to see this on the biggest screen you could possibly have to experience the true beauty of this movie. This is a beautifully crafted movie on so many levels, and a refreshing sigh of relief after watching Argylle. I mean, this movie really put me in a good mood after having to sit through Argylle earlier in the day. This movie just really cheered me up in so many ways. I love this movie, man. This is one that's easily a top contender for one of the best movies of the year so far. Like I said, we're only a couple weeks in, but this is one I'm going to remember when I'm putting the list together here. This is how am I going to put this? How am I going to do this without keeping this movie out of the top 10? I mean, this year's going to have to be a really great year for it to do that, but this is one of those achievements that I feel like it's going to stand out when the year is over with. If you have not seen this movie, it's on Netflix. I highly recommend checking it out because it's indeed worth it. It is one of the best movies of the year. Big thumbs up on this movie. What a great way to end this after the way it started. Just, Orion and the Dark, man. Orion and the Dark. So, with that said, that's going to wrap up this episode of talking about the movies. Now, next week we have, not really a big new release in general, but it is the biggest new release, and one that I'm actually looking forward to, and that is Lisa Frankenstein, which is written by Diablo Cody, and also directed by Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams. And as the title indicates, it's a story that's basically inspired by the story of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, about a misunderstood teenage goth girl who reanimates a Victorian-era corpse and works to make him into the man of her dreams. Catherine Newton playing the title character and Cole Sprouse playing the Frankenstein in the film. I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out, and I'll have a review for that coming up on next week's show, I should say. But did you see either Argylle or Orion in the Dark? If you did, let me know your thoughts down below. Tell me what you thought of both movies, or just one movie if you saw one of them. And if you want to see more videos of this, check out some of the other reviews I've done. I did a review for Snoop Dogg's The Underdogs last week. So you can go ahead and click the link there to check that out, as well as the playlist. And thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week for the next episode. So until then, take care, have a good one. Good night.